like you kind of said, I love the fact that it doesn't matter how old you are or how grand you are. You go to your parents and they're going to be like, look here, boy. Here's what you're going to do and you're going to like it.
It is interesting that his mother mentions that Darkenrahl is already hunting Richard. He put the vine in the jar hoping that Richard would be bitten and fall into fever until he could find him, which implies that she has knowledge of things going on beyond what anybody else could.
In this for me, I thought this was convenient, a little too convenient, because she knows everything about Darkenrahl. Well, both of them, they know everything about Darkenrahl, because he mentions how, well, the books are in play, and all of a sudden they're like, well, hold up. Only 2 of the 3 books are in play, not the third one. Okay, well, clearly he must at least have the Book of Truth and Shadows. And they're like, no, he doesn't. He's only got the 2 books of Warden, doesn't have the third book, doesn't have the Book of Truth and Shadows. And then they're like, and Zed starts asking him more questions. They're like, yeah, well, we don't know that. And
right.
It's like, man, this is some convenient knowledge being dropped, and also some convenient knowledge of like, okay, like, we don't know that part, I guess.
That was my main point, because they're like, what? There's some other little stuff here before he gets into that, but he says, what fool would put him into play? And they're like, it's a dangerous one. And they know about how he travels the underworld. That's how he went under the boundary. But he doesn't know how they can get through the boundary.
Zed doesn't know how to get through the boundary. Or his parents.
Or his parents. The Seeker is going to figure it out, right?
He's the only one who can.
And Zed asks why Rahl is after Richard, and his parents don't fucking know that. That was my main thing. You know all this shit that nobody else knows, but you don't know why Rahl is after Richard? Really? Darken is just hanging out over there, and you're just, like, not able to see it?
Which, the only thing I can think of is because obviously his parents are dead, and Darkenrahl is traveling, he's using the underworld to travel at some point. Maybe they're getting glimpses. Like, they're like, hey, we can kind of sneak on him while he's in the underworld. We can catch tidbits of conversation. Was my reasoning of how come they only have some information. Because I'm assuming somehow Darkenrahl is either talking to someone or himself is doing bad guy monologues about his plan, but they can only hear part of it. And that's where they pick up some of this information, but not all of it.
Well, I mean, his name is Dark.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure as he's pacing the underworld, he's just like, motherfucking Richard and his bullshit, and I'm not gonna fucking put up with his bullshit. And nobody knows why, because that's all he's talking about. He's just fucking going on and on and on.
And I want to keep going on this. And Dark, he's sitting there, he's walking through the underworld, and he's pissed. He's like, I got fucking 2 of the books. I don't need the third book to put the first 2 in play. I'm gonna say I got all of them. I'm gonna put them in play. And then that's the third book's gonna come to me. I'm picturing him as Sam Jackson at this point. Darkenrahl actually just became my favorite character.
I like the point you made about him monologuing to himself in the underworld, because a guy like this, would totally do that. It is in every movie we have ever watched, ever, the bad guy has had like a good solid 2-minute monologue all to himself. And this is obviously what they are listening into.
I have an aside. This is going to be 30 seconds. Count it.
Look, he's giving
Count
you
it. I've got
fucking
the Bill
Clinton
Clinton
finger. Yeah.
Finger going on right now. I did not have sex with that woman. But Avengers Age of Ultron gets shit on all the time. It's starting to get redeemed because people say that Endgame made it a better movie. But at multiple points, Ultron pretends to go on a villain monologue, and it's a plot device that he uses himself, where all of a sudden he's like, oh, you were stalling? So was I. Or, at another point, he's like, here, let me explain my villainous plan, or I can just punch you in the face. And then he punches him in the face. So, aside done, almost every movie has a villain monologue.
I'll give you that, I will.
Well, I mean, in a slightly more serious note, I mean, he's walking through the underworld. We don't know how. We really don't know why. But the fact that he can proves that clearly he's strong, either in magic or has magic users under his control that allow him to do this. So this does kind of prove, that he is someone who is to be feared. Like, he's got power.
Yeah, he's definitely somebody to be reckoned with. And it is something to be mentioned that Kaylin was confused about how the people of the Midlands knew about Dark and Raw before the boundary came down. And this is why.
Yeah, he's been there.
Yeah.
He's been traversing through the boundary or past the boundary, under the boundary, whatever it is. And he's been there.
Right.
And back to it, Zed's parents are saying, watch out. He's been traversing the underworld. You need to name a seeker. You need to... They're basically saying, get your bootstraps, pull them up. It's time for you to go back to work.
And we can't come back ever again. Because it will tear the veil if we ever come back.
Which, the veil being what protects the underworld or the land of the dead from the land of the living.
Right.
Right. And that's where they leave Zed, and that's where we leave Zed too. Zed, the great wizard, stands on his wizard rock, thinking wizard thoughts. And that's that.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of shit to think about.
Well, I mean, this is definitely, unless the alcohol's blocking part of my memory, this is the most magical episode. Like, this is the most magic-centric.
Yes.
So, this is definitely like, wow, okay. Like, we've got some forestry, we've got some tactics, maybe some stuff with Kaylin being powerful, but this is just straight up, Zed's a wizard. Not just a wizard, he's the wizard.
Yeah.
Zed's the fucking man.
Well, but not even just the wizard. He's the he's the second to last wizard.
Right.
As far as we know. We know Giller and Zed. Those are the only two wizards, and Giller flaked out and sold his services to a queen. So, this is, to me, this was one where, being in the books, I'm like, oh shit, this stuff's about to pick up. History has been established, main characters established, shit's about to get real from here on out.
Okay, wait. You just read this book for the first time, though, right?
Within the last 3 months, I read it for the first time, yes.
Before you got to the end of this chapter, do you know that Zed was a wizard?
No, I had no idea. I knew Zed wasn't what Richard thought he was, but I did not think he was the Great Wizard. To me, I figured he was maybe like a rogue wizard, or an Obi-Wan Kenobi type from A New Hope. He's like in exile. I gotta protect myself because shit went down with the wizards. I gotta get out. Or even, I'm just gonna keep nerding out. Maybe like a Gandalf the Grey. Not the white.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I make fireworks and shit.
Yeah.
But I don't do that much. And granted, he took on a Balrog, so maybe that's underselling Gandalf the Grey. Also, I only know movie and book Gandalf, so I know there's a lot of extended universe shit there. But
right.
Anyway, back to Zed. I knew there was something up with him. I knew he wasn't old guy who retired, and also, I don't know if it was just me, but it was almost like Terry was trying to confuse us. Because in my mind, I knew Zed was an old man, but they kept talking about how Richard and Zed were best friends, so I didn't know if he was trying to say that Zed's younger, or maybe I'm wrong and Zed is younger, but I always... Well, no, because they said he's got a wrinkly butt.
Right.
So he's old.
He's an old guy.
Yeah, so... But yeah, I mean, something was going on with Zed. I knew he wasn't just run-of-the-mill old guy gonna help out Richard. Like, clearly something was going on.
I always kind of thought that Zed was a solid plot device. He was the kooky friend that knew some shit that was going to lead Richard to the wizard himself, but just like you, I didn't really see him being the wizard himself.
So, if any of you are Wheel of Time readers, I thought he was Tom. And Tom is kind of the same thing, where he's an older guy, joins the party, and basically, like you said, it's plot device, where... For reasons that are explained, he has convenient knowledge about everything that's happening. All of a sudden, our characters are like, I don't know what to do. And he'll be like, oh, I've been here before. I can tell you exactly what's going on. You just gotta go, you gotta turn right. It's a fork in the road, turn right, we're fine. And that's kind of what I figured with Zed. I was like, okay, Zed's gonna be the one who Kaylin and Richard are gonna get into a mess, and Zed's gonna be like, we're okay for now.
He's the guy that knows everything.
Yeah, exactly.
He drinks and knows things?
He drinks and knows things.
Sounds like someone I know.
And if you're the person who knows everything and you need to tell us what, maybe we missed something during this episode, you can totally do that by sending an email to podcastatt@gmail.com. You can also get a hold of us on Facebook by searching All the Things, or searching at Podcast ATT. That also works for Instagram. If you want to get a hold of us on Twitter, you can, although we are terrible at it. We are at podcast_ATT. And lastly, if you want to help support this show, you can go to patreon.com/podcastatt and make a pledge.
I promise you there's going to be lots of fun extras on there. Aaron, who is on our podcast tonight, has contributed lots of fun extras that we are going to be posting there only for our Patreons.
I can fully endorse. That's the word I was looking for. It's worth it. We get gag reels. I get episodes a day early, so I can get everything queued up and downloaded. And I listen to everything at work, all my podcasts, audiobooks at work. I get everything ready to go for Monday morning. It's awesome. I love it. Don't regret it at all, especially now that I'm on the podcast.
Aaron gets his shout out right now here on the podcast.
But it could be you too.
It could be you too.
Or you too.
Or you.
Or you.
Or you.
Or me?
Or you.
No.
Oh.
Well, no, not you.
No. As one final thought, remember the giveaway that we had mentioned at the top of this episode. Give us a shout out on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spreaker, Stitcher, whatever platform you're listening to us on.
Spotify.
Thank you very much. Send us a screenshot of your review to podcastatt@gmail.com, and that will enter you guys in to the drawing to win 3 books. And until next time, well, we'll see you real soon.
Yep. Bye.
I don't know if I'll be here next time, but it's been a pleasure.
We were happy to have you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.